Alice Springs Mayor Matt Paterson has raised concerns that, wait for it, James just mentioned, we voted no to the voice, you voted no to the voice, 60% of Australians voted no to the voice, but no, what are Labor going to do? They're going to bring in loads of voices, James.
Well, yeah, so this is this new idea that, okay, so we heard you loud and clear on the national voices, we're not going to do the big constitutional voice, but instead now we can still do local ones, we can still do regional ones, all of that. Now, Matt Paterson, who I think is one of the great Australians for helping to bring to the attention of the country really some of the horrors that have been going on in Alice Springs while, Albanese and all of them were swanning around trying to get this voice over the line. He has said, no, this is just going to be more bureaucracy. And it all comes down to the point which we made on this show through the entire referendum campaign, which is that if it is the government's job to listen, you don't need a constitutional amendment. You don't need new bureaucracy to do it. You just need to get out there and do it. Are your ears painted on?
Liz.
Well, we saw this even before the referendum, even before it was a very comprehensive no. The states charged ahead. South Australia had their own voice to Parliament. Queensland had inked their path to treaty. That was going to cost millions of dollars per tribe. Victoria's got their statewide body trying to make up a statewide agreement. WA had to trash their cultural heritage laws because that just turned into way too much of a farce. And New South Wales is still debating what they'll get up to. But the fact is, even before the vote was cast, governments around the country made it very obvious, we don't give a stuff what you guys actually think.
And that's the problem.
We are pressing ahead with this agenda. And once again, it's just another example where governments show complete contempt for the very people who have elected them. At the end of the day, it didn't matter what we voted. They were always going to do what they wanted to do.
And this is why it's so critical at the next election. OK, if they're going to ignore you on the voice, make sure that they learn the really hard lesson out. Out with Labor. They are a joke. They are a farce. They're all over the shop at the moment. James, we've seen it on every single portfolio. They are clueless. They are running around like headless chooks. We'll talk about their disgraceful voting at the UN for the ceasefire in a moment. But, James, they go into Christmas. What are people going to be talking around at the barbecues? I mean,
well, can they afford to light the barbecue? I mean, this is a big thing that, and what are they going to be putting onto it? There have been survey after survey saying that people are cutting back their spending this year because it is really hurting out there. This government, putting aside the voice, putting aside the vote in the UN, putting aside the fact that they can't hold a line on anything now because they're now completely at sea politically about what they believe, they have presided over and they now own. They cannot blame Peter Dutton. They cannot blame the previous coalition government for it. A huge backsliding in people's standard of living under their watch. That's what people are going to be talking about. It's all very well and good for us to talk about, the politics of that or the other thing. People out there are being asked to both shoulder the burden of inflation through higher interest rates and also through higher prices. And there's an awful lot of people who are copying it both ways. We'd have a lot of them viewing this show here. While many of the problems that are causing it, people are getting off scot-free. So you bring in, 500, 600,000 migrants. They're not affected by interest rates. They've got money coming from overseas. They're fine, and they are flooding the economy with more money. The same thing with all these cost of living measures, Oh, well, here, let's make inflation worse. So pump some more money into the economy to make it worse, but get you through this a little bit. It doesn't make sense, and it's a vicious spiral of Keynesianism that I think Jim Chalmers, for all of his, smiling profiles that he's been doing, I think has really just lost the plot on.